Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of FI News in Review. In this segment, we're going to cover significant news items within the food and beverage industry. It's something new we're trying out in order to better serve you all as our wonderful viewers in place of our regular newscast. Don't worry, we will still be interviewing guests every week as well. You can watch that as a separate segment now called FI Spotlight, and it will air on Tuesdays at 8 a.m. Let me bring in my co-pilot here now, FI's very own Senior Content Manager, Chris Campbell. Chris, welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Susan. Thanks for having me back on. Can't wait to talk a little bit about the consumer today.
Yes, exactly. That is the topic we have chosen to discuss, consumer trends. You know, within a troubled U.S. economy, it seems that one area that's getting positive vibes, so we speak, is in consumer spending. We've been looking at a Bloomberg article, right? Chris, excuse me. We're seeing goods consumption climbed 5% year over year in December, fastest growth since early 2022. And although prices of goods are generally still higher than pre-pandemic levels we've been seeing in 2023, there is a slowdown. And also we've read that there are certain companies that said that they are seeing a higher demand of their products, in a significant number of percentage points so far this year. So Chris, break it down for us. What do you think is the reason for this resilience in consumer behavior?
So I think a lot of things are going on here, Susan. At the end of the day, it still really surprises me how resilient the American consumer has been. But I think one of the biggest things we're seeing here is that consumers have gotten used to these price increases and they're starting to realize them less. When you take a look at a lot of the products that had those price increases when it was first happening, this is the first time in many, many years that inflation was affecting so many products at the same time. So I think a big part that we're seeing right now is that consumers have gotten used to this on some level, and they're maybe not looking to it in the same way. I think another thing we're seeing as well is that consumers are starting to gravitate towards stuff again. During the pandemic, people bought a lot of stuff. In the immediate aftermath, they were looking for experiences, and it seems that they're shifting back into, buying actual products again. So I think these are really big things that we could take a look at. I also think it's worth noting, and we talked about this the last time I was on the show, Susan, but consumers definitely utilize credit cards and buy now, pay later services at a really high clip during the holidays in 2023. So to me, it feels like we might be seeing the other shoe drop eventually, but I keep saying this, and it seems that that shoe has not dropped yet, and the consumer remains resilient. But I do think a couple of things that we can keep an eye on as we kind of take a look at the economy looking into 2024. We are seeing downsizing across many white collar jobs in the economy. We are seeing strong labor markets for, so-called blue collar or, restaurant, food service, even grocery level kind of positions. Even Walmart putting out, recently that they were going to be putting in a major pay hike increase for store managers. So we are seeing something of a bifurcated economy. But I think at the end of the day right now, there are some positive signs. There are some negative signs. Right now we're in the middle of it, and it'll be an interesting thing to keep an eye on for the rest of 2024 to kind of see how the economy plays out.
Right. Let's take this into the food industry context in particular. It seems like we are still seeing that consumers are tightening their budgets at the supermarket. Data from insights firm 𝗍𝗶𝗱𝗲 still showed that shoppers are still looking for deals, coupons. What else are you seeing, Chris, when it comes to the grocery store?
So yeah, I think that 𝗍𝗶𝗱𝗲𝗃 report was really, really interesting. And a quick plug, the Food Institute podcast will be interviewing Alex Trott from 𝗍𝗶𝗱𝗃 on a lot of these topics. So I've done a little bit of research here. In that report, they found in 2023 and coming into 2024, consumers really did notice some price increases for some food categories. 82% of consumers noted a price increase when it came to dairy products, and 77% saw price increases in the deli, meat, and fish category. But interestingly enough, they did not realize the same price increases for the beauty, pet food, and healthcare products. And that brings up this interesting dynamic with a lot of CPG makers. When it comes to the food prices, I think people are actually noticing them. Whereas if, you're looking at deodorant, toothpaste, et cetera, maybe they're not noticing them as much. And I think one of the really, really interesting things here is when you take a look at, what the difference is between food and some of those personal care products is. A lot of people really skilled up during the pandemic. They learned how to cook, so they might be able to do some more work with raw ingredients compared to, personal care products. I'm not sure as many people went out and learned how to make soap, right? So that might be part of the reason we're seeing this little bit of a differentiation when it comes to those food products and some of those personal care products.
Right. What about the trend of shoppers preferring private label goods over national brands. Are we still seeing that? Are we still going to continue to see that? What's going on there, Chris?
So we're definitely still seeing a push towards private label. I think it's very interesting because a couple of years ago, 10 years ago, you take a look at private label offerings, you would probably say that they are of a lesser quality. I think that's really changed in the last couple of years, especially when you see some of the discount retailers like Lidl, Aldi, even Trader Joe's coming out with really, really high quality, own brand kind of products. And you're seeing this across the spectrum. The Kroger company, you have Albertsons, they all have really strong and even like organic private label products. So no longer is it just a question of whether or not you have to sacrifice, quality when you try to take a price down, a down in the price there. But when you take a look at these products, the quality's still there. So I think a lot of consumers are going to continue looking to these products in the future. And I think it's something that some of the major national CPG brands are going to have to really take into account, especially with all the price increases that they pushed out to the consumer over the last couple of years. I think they really, really need to take a real good look at those price increases specifically and the competition at this point, because I do think consumers will continue to gravitate towards these products, especially considering the economy right now.
I know we at the Food Institute will continue to monitor consumer behavior as the year goes on. A lot of stuff to think about. All right, FI's Senior Content Manager, Chris Campbell, as always, it's a pleasure having you.
Thanks for having me on, Susan.
And as always, you can check out all the great content that we've done by clicking on this playlist. Till next time, I'm Susan Choi. Take care and have a great weekend.